Hey everybody, this is Everyday Commentary, and this is a video about these two knives. The first is the Alox Cadet, and I took off the little split ring because I never use it as a keychain. And the second is this knife, or this tool, which is the Spyderco Clipitoool with the driver tool attachment instead of the, there's one that has a serrated blade, and then there's one that has a pair of scissors. And so, if you listen to Gear Geeks Live when we did the Spyderco review, catalog review, I talked about this knife, and I pointed out that this knife, the Clipitoool with the driver, is very similar, if you look at the tool complement, to this knife, the Swiss Army Knox Alox Cadet. The Alox Cadet is one of my favorite EDC tools ever. I mean, it's a perfectly sized knife. It has a really nice, easy to use, very frequently used, as you can see there, drop point, or it's actually a modified spear point blade. It uses the, I think it's the 1.4116 Krupp steel, so it is very stain resistant, it is very soft, it can get sharp, but it does not hold an edge very long. So that's the main blade. And then you have the can opener with the small driver. You can use this to open up bottles. And then you have the other bottle opener with a little wire notch. And then this is a flathead driver. And then finally you have this last tool, which is sort of like it's a file. You can use it as a punch, and you can also use it as a Phillips driver, given its shape. And so the big thing about this knife is that it's a really nice classic looking knife. It's not going to scare anybody. It's very lightweight. It's very durable. The Alox scales, the aluminum scales with the check pattern, really absorbs damage. I mean, you can just throw this in your pocket with a set of keys, and it'll take all the beatings you give it, and it'll look fine. The shape is really nice because it has like that nice classic knife shape. There's no pocket clip. It doesn't have a thumb hole. It is very non-aggressive. This is probably one of the best EDC items available right now. They occasionally put out Alox tools with a bunch of different colors, and those colors are nice. This is just one of my very favorite knives, one of my very favorite tools ever. So, thinking that the tool complement was the same, I wanted to do a side-by-side video, a comparison between the two. I haven't used this one a lot. I've used this one a ton. I haven't used this one a lot, so this is sort of, like just a really cursory introductory comparison. Instead of the 1.4116 Krupp steel, this uses the Chinese 8CR 13MOV as the stainless steel. The blade here is flat ground, and I believe the blade here is very hollow. Well, it's probably a flat grind. It's close enough that it doesn't make a difference. In this knife, it has stainless steel as opposed to aluminum handles, meaning this is a little heavier. It looks like it's like way thicker, but in my comparisons, if you line them up exactly, if you lay them flat down, they are exactly the same thickness except for the pocket clip. This knife obviously is not quite the same size as the Alox Cadet. The blade is pretty close to the same size, but the handle is significantly shorter. And I think that has to do with the fact that this knife has 2 pivot points as opposed to 1. I'll show you that in a minute. The Clipitoool has like the classic Spyderco blade shape. It has a little bit more of a belly than like the Dragonfly does. It has a finger choil, as you can see here. It's a half and half finger choil, so you can kind of put your fingers there. And this is really a 3-fingered knife. You're not going to get 2 fingers on this, or you're not going to get 4 full fingers on this knife under pretty much any circumstances. But this pinch point here, it gives you a lot of control over the knife. You can make nice, precise cuts. The knife is really too small to do anything other than like mild food prep, basic box opening, thread cutting, sort of the very, very low effort EDC stuff. The pivot is adjustable. There's a Torx screwdriver, or Torx screw right there. However, if you can see, I'm trying to get it in the right light, everything else is rivet constructed. You can't take this knife apart without some serious effort. There is a pocket clip, which makes it different from the Alox Cadet, in that the Alox Cadet has no pocket clip. And thus far I haven't decided whether I like the pocket clip or not. It's a very, very small spoon style Spyderco pocket clip, and so it's one of those things. It does add a little bit of thickness to the knife, and I'm not sure just how convenient it is. But unlike the Alox, which doesn't give you the option, you can take this one off or you can leave it on. So if you want a pocket clip, you could have one. If you don't want a pocket clip, you don't have to have one. And that's an option that I like to have, and options are good when it comes to tools because I don't know how I'm going to carry it all the time. And just like I took off the split ring here because it was just a waste of space and it made it harder for it to lay perfectly flat, I may eventually take off the pocket clip here. So you've seen the blade. Now here is the thing that sets this apart from something like the Honeybee, which is the Chinese-made budget Spyderco, ultra-small Spyderco with stainless steel handles. I think this is basically a Honeybee with this tool attached. And this is the driver/bottle opener. As you can see, it is not a 2D or even 3D Phillips bit, but it does come to a sufficient point that you can handle a lot of Phillips head screws with it. Obviously, it's a good flathead driver. I've used it to dig out portions of screws that were covered by paint. I actually used this to install some blinds in a room in our house, and they came with these pre-painted screws that were supposed to look nice and hide when you installed them, but the problem is they put too much paint in it. So I used it to scrape out the paint, and it worked fine. And I also used it to drive the Phillips head screws in, and it also worked fine. I'll note that this shape is not quite as conducive for driving as the Alox because of its odd sort of profile. I mean, when you're using the Alox to drive screws, and it's very, very easy to manipulate in your hand. It's not symmetrical, but it's pretty close all the way around. So you can get, you can kind of do that a lot easier than you can here, where you have to navigate the pocket clip, navigate the spider hole hump, that kind of stuff. The bottle opener is a good but not great bottle opener. It probably needs to be ground down a little bit so that it's more pointy, so it can like lock under one of those ridges. As it is now, it can drift from one ridge to the other, and making it, instead of a one swipe bottle opener, it may be a two swipe bottle opener. The bottle opener on the Cadet, however, is a true one pull bottle opener. You just lock it in there and pop it right off. Overall, the knife, the Clipitoool, is a very good EDC knife. I'm not sure if it's going to replace the Cadet. I like the Cadet a lot. Both of them are non-locking blades, and I note that while this is, in theory, a one-hand opener, it is really, really stiff. So you can do this with one hand, as I just demonstrated, but you have to have really good technique, and you have to be willing to sort of tear up your thumbs because it's stiff. This can't do that, and that's a big plus in my mind. I mean, the ability to open a knife one-handed is something that it's very hard it's very hard to overrate it, because it's just so useful. And because of the choil, you can close it one-handed as well. It's almost impossible, although I imagine that eventually you could train yourself to do it, to open the tool implement one-handed. But it still does have the little spider hole, and the spider hole allows you to dig your fingernail in and pull it out. One thing that I would note is that when the knife is open, the little hump here is very unintrusive. It's not gonna, it may give you a little bit of a hot spot, but it sort of fits this profile right here very well, so that it kind of just helps your finger stay in place. The pocket clip, because it's so small, is really unnoticeable, especially because of the way you would hold this knife. It sort of mates up with this part of your hand, the little crease where your hand is, right above where some people have a simian crease. It just sits right there. And so that's very good. I like that a lot. Overall, I like the knife shape a lot. Mine did not come super, super duper sharp. So I'm going to have to sharpen it, but I don't really care. I mean, it's not that expensive. These are basically the exact same price, too. They're right around $25 a piece. So I don't know if this is going to kick the Alox out of my pocket, but I do know that this is a really good option for people that want a small everyday carry item. This could probably handle, close to 95% of your everyday carry tasks. The blade is good, the blade shape is useful, it's hollow ground, so that could do all your cutting tasks. And then, most of your driving tasks and bottle opening could be handled by this. And so in a very real sense, even though they're totally different form factors, the Clipitoool with the driver option and the Alox Cadet are almost exact direct competitors when you go down on a feature-by-feature basis. This has more implements, but it doesn't have a whole lot more features than this does because they combine a lot of the things. If you need a can opener, obviously you can't go with this. You'd have to go with the Alox, which is not a bad option. But I don't really have any use for a can opener, and so in that circumstance, for me, these are basically direct equivalents of each other. As you can see, the Alox is a little longer, but also a little less wide. In terms of thickness, if you throw out the pocket clip, they are dead even, and I can't imagine that that was just a happy accident. So I'll have a review up of the Clipitoool, but until then, just know that you have two good options if you want to have like a small beater with you. You have the classic Alox, the Swiss Army Knox Alox Cadet, and now you have this Clipitoool. I don't know if I would ever consider using the serrated edge or the scissor tool because they overlap too much with in terms of their tasks with the main blade. I can accomplish almost everything that I would need with the main blade. The serrated tool especially seems to be kind of useless because I don't do a lot of rope cutting, and given its size it couldn't be used for, like, you know, cutting wood or anything like that. It's just too small. So I would say that in my opinion, for, you know, general EDC tasks, this is probably the best of the three Clipitools. But the real question is it better than the Alox Cadet? And I don't know when I'll have the answer, but when I do, I'll let you know, and it probably will change over time. I'd be surprised if this thing comes out ahead just simply because of how old and how classic this design is. But, you know, if anybody can dethrone Swiss Army, it's Spyderco. They have some really good design chops, and this is one of those knives that shows that design chop off. One last point. If you notice here, the tang is exposed, but man, is it really low. And I like that a lot. Some of those Spydercos, especially like the Delica, that tang is out there and it's kind of pokey and it gathers lint. But here, they lowered it way, way down close to the handle of the knife and made it smooth. So it's really nice and comfortable in your pocket. So there you go. This is the Spyderco Clipitoool with driver option.